Hi, good day and welcome to the online class for trigonometry. Sa video na to, pag-uusapan natin ang unit circle and ang definition ng cosine sine functions. A unit circle is a circle with center at the origin of a rectangular plane or Cartesian coordinate plane. And meron siyang radius na 1. So kung meron tayong angle na nasa standard position, angle theta, and yung terminal side niya will intersect the unit circle at some point P, then yung x-coordinate ng point P na yun is equal to the cosine of the angle theta, and the y-coordinate of point P is equal to the sine of the angle theta. For example, if our angle is 270 degrees, what is the sine and cosine of the following angle? Kapag drawing natin yung 270 degrees sa isang unit circle, okay, makikita natin na yung terminal side ng angle is nandito. Nandito siya sa negative y. Nandito siya sa negative y-axis. No? And dahil nga nasa y-axis siya, yung point P is nasa y-axis din. And dahil doon, yung x niya, x-coordinate ng point P is 0, and yung y-coordinate niya is negative 1 kasi nga ang radius natin is 1. Pero since nasa negative y-axis siya, naging negative 1 siya. Therefore, ang cosine ng angle 270 degrees ay equal lang sa x-coordinate ng point P, which is equal to 0, and ang sine ng angle na negative 1, angle 270 degrees ay equal lang din sa negative 1 kasi equal siya sa y-coordinate ng P. What if yung angle natin is negative pi? So, alam natin na kapag negative yung angle, ang pagme-measure natin is, ang direction ng angle is in clockwise direction mula sa reference side or dun sa x-axis, positive x-axis, then iikot tayo ng clockwise direction kasi negative yung angle. And pi is actually, pag kinonvert natin yan, 180 degrees or straight angle. Or pi ay kalahati ng 2 pi. 2 pi is buong circle. So, ang pi ay kalahati ng circle. And again, you see, yung terminal side ng angle na negative pi ay this time nasa negative axis, x-axis naman. Okay? Therefore, yung point P din is nandun sa negative x-axis. And therefore, also, yung y-coordinate niya ay magzi-0 and yung x niya, negative 1 naman. Kasi again, the radius of a unit circle is 1, and since we are in the negative x-axis, so negative 1. Therefore, ang cosine ng angle negative pi ay equal sa negative 1, and ang kanyang sine ay equal sa 0. Third example, what if yung angle natin is 45 degrees? Pag drawing natin ang 45 degrees, nasa quadrant 1 siya, pero hindi siya quadrantal angle. Ibig sabihin, yung terminal side ay hindi makikita dun sa mga axes or wala sa y-axis, wala sa x-axis, nasa gitna, specifically, nasa quadrant 1 siya. So, anong gagawin natin para makuha yung x and y coordinate niya? So, gawin natin is mag-drawing tayo. So, we drop a perpendicular line perpendicular to the x-axis, and we can now form a right triangle kasi nga perpendicular siya. Na kung saan yung other angles ng right triangle is 45 degrees, which is the theta. Ito. And of course, dahil 45, 90 yan, para mabuo yung 180, 45 din yung angle sa taas. And since we draw a perpendicular line which is parallel to the y-axis, kung ano man yung y ni P, yun din yung value ng y na to or ng side ng right triangle na yun. And alam natin from geometry na this is an example, or specifically this triangle is what we call an isosceles right triangle. And when we say isosceles right triangle is have two angles or two equal angles, and the sides opposite those equal angles are also equal. So yung side na katapat ng angle na equal ay equal din. So dito, ang equal angles natin ay 45 degrees at yung mga katapat nun is x, and at the same time y. Right? Therefore, since isosceles right triangle tayo, x equals y or y equals x. And dito sa right triangle na form natin, you see the hypotenuse is actually equal to the radius. At diba, dahil unit circle to, this is the radius. Ang radius natin ay equal sa 1. Therefore, yung hypotenuse natin ay equal sa 1. And by applying Pythagorean theorem, the square of the sides, sum of the square of the sides equal sa square of the hypotenuse, which is equal to 1 squared or 1. And since x equals y, pwede natin palitan yung y dito ng x lang din. So that is x squared plus 1. X squared plus x squared is 2x squared equals 1. We divide by 2. We get that x squared equals 1/2. We take the square root and we get x be equal to square root of 1/2 or square root of 2 all over 2 by rationalization. And of course, since x equals y, y is also equal to square root of 2 all over 2. Actually, dahil nag-square root tayo, positive, negative dapat yung sagot natin. Okay? But you notice, pansinin natin na yung point P ay nasa quadrant 1. Right? At sa quadrant 1, si x and y ay laging positive. Therefore, positive lang yung kukunin natin. At i-disregard natin yung negative na square root of 2 over 2. At dahil x, nakuha na natin yung x and y, makukuha na natin yung cosine ng 45, which is just equal to the x coordinate, square root of 2 over 2, and the sine is also just equal to y, which is square root of 2 all over 2. So, ganun lang po siya kadali. So, as you can see, kung yung angle mo is quadrilateral angle, ibig sabihin, yung terminal side is maglalay dun sa axis, y-axis or x-axis. Madali lang siya. Kaya mo na siyang gawin by inspection. It's just a matter of 1, -1 or 0. No. However, if the angle or the terminal side of the angle is in between quadrants or the axis, or nasa quadrants siya, and it is not a quadrantal angle, ang gagawin natin is we form a right triangle by dropping a perpendicular line pababa sa P. Okay, and forming a right triangle. And from there, we apply some laws of geometry and to evaluate the value of x and y. So let's try another example. Yung angle naman natin is pi over 6. Okay, that is pag convert natin ito sa degrees, we get 30 degrees. And 30 degrees, pag dinowing mo, ay in between also the x and y axis, or hindi siya quadrantal, nasa quadrant 1 din siya. So same procedure sa 45 degrees, drop a perpendicular line from point P, and now we form a right triangle To be specific, this is a special right triangle because the sides are 30, 60, 90. Bakit siya special? Kasi merong relationship yung sides nila. So, let's derive yung relationship. For example, kung meron tayong 30, 60, 90 dito. So, this is 30, 60, 90. And then, i-create ako ng another 30, 60 symmetric dyan. At meron siyang common side. Share a common side with this first triangle. 30, 60 din siya. Ang mangyayari, dahil 30 and 32, this is equal to 60. And 60, 60, the bigger triangle is actually an equilateral triangle. At pag equilateral or equiangular, all the sides are equal. Tama ba? And as you can see, dahil symmetric siya, itong common side, dinedivide niya itong side na to into 2. Okay? So, pag sinabi ko na itong side na to ay x, okay? Itong kalahati ng linyang to is x. Then x din ito. So, yung buong yan ay 2x. And because equilateral triangle yung bigger triangle, so 2x din to, 2x din yun. So, dito pa lang meron ng relationship yung smallest side ng 30, 60, 90 na triangle dun sa hypotenuse times 2 niya or twice. Yung hypotenuse ng 30, 60, 90 triangle ay twice ng shortest sides or twice ng side opposite the 30 degree angle. Okay, how about the common side? So, hanapin natin by Pythagorean Theorem. So, 2x squared hypotenuse squared equals x squared plus, tawagin na lang natin h yun, height. Then, let's solve for h. So, we get 4x squared equals x squared plus h squared. Then, transpose natin sa x squared. 4x squared minus x squared equals h squared. So, 3x squared equals h squared. Square root. We get that h equals the square root of 3x times x. So, kung ilan man yung smallest side mo, i-multiply mo lang ng square root of 3. So, this side is x square root of 3. So, yun po yung relationship nila. Nakadepende lang tayo. Kailangan mo lang, sa 30, 60, 90 degree angle, kailangan mo lang ng isang side. Malalaman mo na yung other two sides because of this relationship. Okay? Now, going back to our 30, 60, 90 angle, the side opposite to the smallest angle or opposite to 30 degrees is y. Right? So, therefore, x, which is opposite to 60 degrees, should be y times square root of 3. So, ito yung relationship nila. Okay, huwag kayong malilito kasi x din yung ginamit ko dito. Pero pansinin nyo, yung h, opposite ng 60 degrees. Dito sa original 30, 60, 90 natin, yung opposite ng 60 is yung x. Therefore, x should be equal to y square root of 3. Okay, dito yung x is opposite the 30 degrees. Dito sa original triangle natin, yung y ang opposite ng 30. Kaya x equals y square root of 3. Yan po yung relationship nila. So, burahin ko na siya. Parang meron akong space. Sorry. Therefore, since pwede na natin actually makompute. Di ba itong hypotenuse ng right triangle is also the radius of the unit circle. Therefore, this is 1. At dun sa 30, 60, 90 degree natin na special right triangle, kung ilan yung hypotenuse, twice siya ng shortest side, which is the opposite of 30. So, yung y natin, dapat kalahati ng hypotenuse. So, yung y mo dapat 1/2. And yung x mo, dapat multiply mo ng square root of 3 times kung ilan man yung shortest side. So, i-multiply mo lang ng 1/2 times square root of 3. And that our x is equal to square root of 3 all over Therefore, makukuha na natin yung cosine ng pi over 6 is equal to the x-coordinate, square root of 3 all over 2, and the sine of pi over 6 is equal to y-coordinate, which is 1/2. So, yun na po yung sagot. So, other example. Find the cosine and sine of the following angles if theta is 60 degrees. So, if tininawin po natin yan, again, nasa quadrant 1 yan, 60. And again, if we drop a perpendicular from point P, intersecting the x-axis, we can form a right triangle. And very obvious, 30-60 ulit tayo dito sa angle na, dun sa triangle na ito. And paano ulit natin kinukuha yan? Magsimula tayo sa opposite side. Or wait, since yung hypotenuse ay equal sa radius, again, this is 1. And if this is 1, the side opposite of 30 degrees should be 1/2 of 1. Therefore, x should be 1/2. And the side opposite the 60 degrees should be square root of 3 times the shortest side. So this is square root of 3 times 2. And therefore, the cosine of angle 60 degrees is equal to 1/2. And the sine of angle 60 degrees is equal to square root of 3 all over 2. See? Madali lang siya. Kasi same right triangle, same special right triangle na derive na natin kanina. Okay. Meron tayong tinatawag na Pythagorean Identity for any angle, theta, cosine squared theta plus sine squared theta equals 1. Okay, galing ito sa unit circle, no? Since, di ba, ang equation ng circle is x squared plus y squared equals 1. Bakit? Sa analytic geometry, okay, a circle, the equation of a circle centered at the origin is x squared plus y squared equals r squared. But since it is a unit circle, the radius is 1. And 1 squared is equal to 1. So, ito yung equation ng unit circle natin. However, di ba sabi natin, yung x ay equal sa cosine ng angle theta. So, if we substitute the value of y and x in terms of sine and cosine function, we get that cosine squared theta plus sine squared theta equals 1. This is a Pythagorean identity. Okay. So, pwede natin itong magamit sa mga problems na kagaya ng mga sumusunod na examples. Ay, sorry. Yung na-solve natin is cosine theta equals 4/5. Pag dinawin natin yan ngayon, no, yung angle theta daw is nandito sa quadrant 2. So, ito. Quadrant 1 to, ito yung quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. So, yung terminal side niya ng angle theta, dito sa quadrant 2. And kapag dinawin natin yung point P, di ba mapapansin natin, yung point P ay meron siyang negative na x and meron siyang positive na y. And since cosine corresponds to the x coordinate and yung angle natin nasa quadrant 2 wherein the x values are or x coordinates are negative kasi nga negative x axis. So yung cosine theta natin dapat magiging negative 45. Kasi nasa quadrant 2. Sa quadrant 2 kasi, negative si x natin. Cosine yung pinag-uusapan, x yan. So, negative 45. Yun po yung cosine ng theta. So, hindi nakasama yung positive. Yung sine ng cosine or sine angle natin or sine function, magdedepende kung nasang quadrant yung terminal side or nasaan yung angle natin. Isang quadrant siya. So, I have here another example. Example number 2, yung theta naman natin is nasa quadrant 3. Tapos, ang cosine theta daw is negative the square root of 5 over 5. Alamin natin yung sine theta. Again, by applying the Pythagorean Identity, which is cosine squared theta plus sine squared theta equals 1. Okay? Substitute po natin since cosine theta is negative square root of 5 all over 5. Square natin yan plus sine squared theta equals 1. We get, saan ko isusulat? Okay, dito na lang. Square natin yun, magiging positive. Then, square root of 5 squared is 5. 5, yung sa denominator, 5 squared is 25. Plus sine squared theta equals 1. 5 over 25 is also equal to 1/5. So, sine squared theta equals, transpose ko na siya, magiging negative 1/5. Bakit 1/5? 5 all over 25. And we get 1 minus 1/5 is 4/5. Take the square root. You get sine theta be equal to positive negative 2 all over square root of 5 or positive negative 2 square root of 5 all over 5. Again, hindi pa tayo tapos. Kailangan nating ma-determine kung ano yung sign na gagamitin. Kung positive ba, negative, at nakadepende kung nasaan yung angle natin or yung terminal side ng angle. So, i-drawing natin yung angle daw natin is nasa quadrant 3. Yung terminal side niya, nasa quadrant 3. So, dito po. And as you can see, pag nandito yung angle natin, okay, negative si x, tapos negative rin si y kasi nasa baba. And since y is sine, therefore, ang sign natin is specifically negative 2 over 5. So, ang final answer, sine ng theta is equal to negative 2 square root of 5 all over 5. Bakit po negative? Kasi nasa quadrant 3. Okay, at sa quadrant 3, both x and y are negative. Okay, here, example number 3, sine theta equals 1. Find cosine theta. Pythagorean identity, cosine squared theta plus sine squared theta equals 1. Then, cosine squared theta, what is sine theta? 1 squared equals 1. Cosine squared theta equals 1, plus 1 equals 1. So, cosine squared theta equals 1 minus 1 or 0. So, ano yung angle natin? So, pag kinuha mo yung square root, ang cosine ng theta ay 0. So, anong angle ang magbibigay sa atin ng 0 na cosine? So, balikan natin yung ating unit circle with radius 1. Ayan. Diba, dito, this is 0, 1, 0, 1 si x, 0 si 1. At this point, 0 si x, 1 si y. At this point, negative 1 si x, 0 si y. At this point, 0 si x, negative 1 si y. So, saan dito ang magbibigay ng 0 na x or 0 na cosine? So, it's pwedeng nandito yung angle, 90 degrees, or pwede rin 270. Pero, sabi niya, yung sine daw ng angle is 1. So, isa lang yun. Dito lang. Dito lang sa point na to. And that angle is equilateral angle, and specifically, angle theta equals 90 degrees. Okay, pero ang hinahanap lang naman is yung cosine theta. So, yung sagot actually is 0. Yun lang po yung sagot. In-specify ko lang kung anong angle ang magbibigay ng cosine theta na 0. Okay. Ang maganda sa unit circle is meron siyang symmetry. Ibig sabihin, may mga na pare-parehas lang yung value at pwede natin gamitan ng symmetry. Okay, for example, hanapin daw natin yung sine cosine ng 5 pi over 60. 5 pi over 60 is equal to, pag multiply natin yan ng 180 all over pi, 150 degrees. Okay? So, ang itsura niyan is ganito. Ito yung 5 pi over 60. At ito yung point xy na magde-define dun sa cosine and sine value na magde-define dun sa values ng cosine and sine ng 5 pi over 6. As you can see, so kulang na lang siya ng pi over 6 para makumpleto niya yung straight angle. And kapag kinuha natin yung cosine and sine ng 5 pi over 6 at kinuha din natin yung kulang niya na pi over 6, kinuha din natin yung sine and cosine, mapapansin natin na actually meron siyang symmetry. Kasi sa circle naman, yung point na ng 5 pi over 6 at saka yung point ng pi over 6 dito sa quadrant 1, okay, ay parehas lang ng height or parehas lang ng y value. And actually, parehas lang din sila ng x value. However, magkaiba nga lang sila ng direction and magkaiba sila ng quadrant. Kaya magne-negative lang. So, ibig sabihin, merong symmetry sa unit circle at pwede nating magamit to our advantage yung symmetry na yun para imbis na mag-compute, okay, i-inspect na lang natin and lalagyan na lang natin ng kung either positive or negative siya, depende sa kondisyon kung nasaang quadrant siya. So, kung yung terminal side ng ating angle alpha is nandito sa quadrant 1, okay, ang symmetry niya is nandyan lang din sa quadrant 1. Okay. Kung ano yung ang tawag natin kay alpha is the reference angle. Yung reference angle na alpha is the acute angle na nasa quadrant 1 na symmetric dun sa given angle. Si unit circle kasi symmetric siya sa x, sa y, and also sa origin. So, for example, yung angle mo is lumagpas siya. Okay. Kunwari ang angle mo is 390. So, lumagpas siya ng 360. And then, umikot pa siya ng another 30 degrees para maging 390. So, yung functions ng 390 ay parehas lang dun sa reference angle, which is 30 degrees. Okay, acute angle na lang. Imbes na i-compute mo yung buong 390, equal lang din siya dun sa 390 minus 360, 30 degrees, which is in the quadrant 1. Kasi parehas sila ng terminal side. Kapag yung angle mo naman ay nasa quadrant 2, kagaya ng binigay natin example kanina na 5 pi over 6, ang reference angle mo is yung kulang na lang niya para maging straight angle. So, kanina, yung example is pi over 6. Ang kulang na lang niya para maging straight angle, pi over 6. So, ang gagawin mo na lang, yung cosine and sine functions or value ng pi over 6 ay parehas sa pi over 6, which is here, ito yung reference angle mo. Yun nga lang, magkaiba lang sila ng either positive or negative. Depende. So, kapag nasa quadrant 2 ka, negative lang si x. Pero same silang positive ang y. Kapag yung angle mo naman, or yung terminal side ng angle mo, nasa quadrant 3, ang reference niya is nandito pa rin sa quadrant 1, which is yung angle na sinobra niya dun sa 180. So, ang gagawin mo, para mahanap sa reference angle, kung yung angle mo ay nasa quadrant 3, bawasan mo ng 180. For example, yung angle na binigay sa'yo is, 210 degrees. So, parehas lang yung cosine sine functions niya. May bawasan mo ng 180, ang reference angle mo is 30 degrees. Kasi ito yun, 30 degrees. Yun nga lang, magkakaiba lang sila ng sign. Saan sila magkakaiba? Negative lahat. Kasi nasa quadrant 3 ka. So, pwede mong gawin is kunin mo muna yung cosine and sine ng 30. Then, lalagyan mo lang ng parehas na negative kasi nandito ka sa sine. Kapag nasa quadrant 4 ka naman, okay, ang reference mo naman is kung ilan na lang yung kulang mo sa 360. So, 360 minus ibawas mo, for example, 290. So, ang reference angle mo is 70 degrees. And sa symmetry niya, ang pagkakaiba lang niya is negative yung y. Pag kinuha mo yung cosine ng 70 at cosine ng 290, parehas lang. Pero yung sine ng 70 at sine ng 290, negative lang yung sine ng 290. Pero parehas sila ng tinatawag nating magnitude or para silang number na lalabas. Sine lang sila magkakaiba. Okay, so para ma-appreciate nyo, magbigay tayo ng example. Yan. Ito yung theorem para sa reference angle. Suppose alpha is the reference angle for theta, the cosine equals positive negative cosine theta, and sine equals sine theta equals positive negative ng sine alpha, where the choice of the positive negative depends on the quadrant in which the terminal side of the theta lies. Balikan natin to. Ayan. Madali lang naman siya i-memorize. Kasi si 45, parehas lang. Ayan. Alam nyo na agad, square root of 2 over 2. Si 30 and 60 naman, magkabaliktaran sila. Yung cosine niya, square root of 3 over 2, 1/2 yung sine. Si 60, 1/2 yung cosine, square root of 3 over 2 naman yung sine. Si 0 and 90, magkabaliktaran din. Cosine 0 ay 1, sine ng 0 ay 0, cosine ng 90 ay 0, sine ng 90 ay 1. So, sana ma-memorize nyo siya. So, ito. Find the cosine and sine of following angles. Pag minultiply natin to ng 180 all over pi, cancel si pi, we get 30. So, 330 degrees. Malapit na siyang mag 360. At nasaan yun? Nandito po yan sa quadrant 4. At ano po ang reference angle natin sa quadrant 4? Kung ilan na lang yung kulang niya para maging 360, kailangan niya na lang ng 30 degrees. So, dito, 30 degrees. And ano ang cosine ng 30? At sine ng 30? Cosine ng 30 ay square root of 3 all over 2. Ang sine ng 30 ay 1/2. And therefore, yung cosine ng 330 or 11 pi 11 pi all over 6 at sine ng pi, 11 pi over 6 ay equal lang din sa square root of 3 all over 2 at 1/2, depende lang sa sign. Yung angle natin na 11 pi over 6 or 330 degrees nasa quadrant 4 at sa quadrant 4, positive si cosine, so as is, pero yung sign natin is nasa negative y or yung angle natin is in the negative y. So, negative 1/2. Therefore, ito po yung final answer. Number 3. So, the angle is negative 5 pi over 4, or if you convert that to, we get, ilan ba yan? That is 225. So, negative 225 degrees. So, saan ang negative 225? Remember, pag negative, mag-start tayo. Tapos, ang sa x, positive x, ang direction natin clockwise. So, dapat nandito siya. This is 90, 180, 225. Yan. Okay. So, anong magiging reference angle natin? Yung angle natin is nasa quadrant 2. And ilan na lang itong angle na to? Kung mula dito hanggang dito is 225, ilan na lang kulang yan para maging 270? 45. Tama? So, this angle is 45. And also, this angle is 45. Yun yung sinobra niya sa 1/8. And ang reference angle natin is also 45 degrees. And alam na natin ang cosine and sine ng 45 ay equal po sa square root of 2 over 2. And therefore, ang cosine ng negative 5 pi all over 4 at sine ng negative 5 pi all over 4 ay equal sa square root of 2 over 2 din. Depende na lang sa sine. So, anong sine natin? Since nasa quadrant 2 yung ating terminal side, yung angle, sa quadrant 2, si x ang negative, y po ay positive. So, si cosine ay negative, sine as is positive. Therefore, our final answer is cosine ng negative 5 pi over 4 ay negative square root of 2 over 2, and sine ng negative 5 pi over 4 ay square root of 2 all over 2. You can solve now 7 pi over 3. So, I'll leave that to you kung anong maging sagot nyo. So, as a symmetric na yung circle or yung unit circle natin sa x, y, and sa origin, okay, pwede natin gawa ng table yung mga special or tawag natin cheat diagram para sa mga special angles. So, usually, ito yung mga memorize. Pero pwede namang ito lang, yung nasa quadrant 1 lang i-memorize mo, then baguhin mo na lang yung sign, depende kung sino ang positive at negative. Thank you very much for watching and listening. Sana may natutunan kayo, and that's all for lesson number 2, unit circle and cosine and sine functions. So, if you have questions or clarifications, message nyo lang ako or mag-comment tayo sa Google Classroom posts. Thank you again and happy learning.